So at the Protestant Reformation, this is where you have all the many different denominations of Christianity. So I want you all to understand that there is no such thing as JC before the Romans, before the Italians, before the Catholics. They brought all of this into the scene. When you look at the Roman leaders, you will see how they've all made themselves gods and how they all brought Christianity into the forefront. And as they conquered these nations by means of the sword, by violence, is how this thing was forced upon the people of the earth, especially the children of Israel. So I've just accidentally hit a button here, so where I had to restart this portion. So this video will be done, or this lesson will be done in actually 2 parts, because I've just reset this thing here on accident. Anyway, we were at Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 17. They sacrificed unto devils, not unto Yah, unto idols whom they knew not, to new idols that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. We have never feared a JC. Never. Because JC can't do harm to anyone. JC is nothing but a Roman concoction. It's falsehood. It's a lie. It can't save us. It can't help us. It cannot deliver us. We've been calling upon JC for centuries. It has failed us, and it will continue to fail us. It is a graven image, the work of men's hands, a god, lowercase, idol, newly raised up in the midst of these nations. Hope I've made that clear. So if you are serving this thing, it's an idol. It's a devil. And if you're serving it, then you're devil worshiping. It's really that simple. There's no other way to describe that or to explain it. All right. We have 2 more verses to touch on, and then we will close this lesson off. Isaiah chapter 48, and we will read verse 3 through 5. Isaiah chapter 48, and we will read verse 3 through 5. All right, Isaiah chapter 48, verse 3, and we're going to address this idol, and this is why the Most High has laid out everything aforetime. Everything was laid out to us in the days of old. That way, you can't ever say, hey, my idol did it. JC did this and JC did that. Well, if you feel JC did that, you need to take us back into the days of old and show us where JC said he did anything. And that cannot be substantiated, because JC is nothing but an idol. It's falsehood. It's a lie. All right. Isaiah chapter 48, verse 3 through verse 5. And verse 3 reads, I have declared the former things from the beginning. We were told all that we needed to know up front. And they went forth out of my mouth, and I showed them. I did them suddenly, and they came to pass. It's Most High speaking. Because I knew that thou art obstinate, and thy neck is as iron sinew, hard-headed, and thy brow brass. Verse 5. I have even from the beginning declared it. Most High saying, I told you this from the jump. I declared it to thee. Before it came to pass, I showed it to thee. Lest thou shouldest say, because if I didn't show it to you in the beginning, then you would say, my idol JC hath done them, and my graven image JC and my molten image JC have commanded them. So there's a reason why we were given everything up front. Is that way we are not going to be able to come before the Most High generations later and say this garbage, that JC died for you, JC prepared a place for you. The Most High said he knew that we would do this wicked thing. And because he knew that we would do this, that's why he told us everything up front. So what you're seeing here is prophecy fulfilled. That the children of Israel, we were obstinate for real. We were hard-headed for real. We were treacherous for real. And that's why the Most High said he revealed all of this information to his prophets first. He did it in the beginning. Because if he didn't, he knew that we would say, hey, my idol did this thing. JC did this thing. My graven image did this thing. My molten image commanded such and such. So the Most High pretty much has destroyed all of your falsehood by way of his own mouth and by way of the mouth of his prophets. All right. Let's turn to Isaiah chapter 46, last verse. Isaiah chapter 46, last chapter, excuse me. Isaiah chapter 46, and we'll read verse 9 and 10. Isaiah chapter 46, and we will read verse 9 and 10. And these two verses completes this lesson. All right. Isaiah chapter 46, verse 9 reads, remember the former things of old. Remember, that means you will be brought to remembrance. When someone's memory is removed and he has amnesia, you do not give him something new. You have to remind him who he is or who he was. You have to show him things from the past to bring him to remembrance. That way he can remember if his memory has been removed, as such a case is with the house of Israel. For I, singular, am Yah, and there is none else. That eliminates JC. I am Yah, and there is none like me. So don't ever make the mistake of calling JC God or the Son of God or saying that JC is like God. He's neither. Verse 10. Declaring the end from the beginning. Let me read that one more time. That's why he told us everything up front. I told you what the end result of this thing is going to be in the beginning. That removes all mystery. That removes all confusion. That way he is clear to you. You know exactly which way you have to walk. Declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, the things that are not yet done. The Most High prophesied what's going to happen, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. So the counsel of the Most High is what's going to stand. Now, you can be a dummy if you want, and you could go in the counsel and you can walk in the counsel of the European. You can walk in the counsel of the Roman. You can walk in the counsel of the Christian, aka the white supremacist. You can walk in those counsels or their counsel if you like. But the Most High said whose counsel is going to stand. Not Peter, not Paul's, not the Christians, not the Romans, but his counsel is going to stand. So now you have a choice to make. You're A, going to take a hold of the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts and do them and teach them, or you take another covering. You walk after another counsel that is not of the Most High and not of his spirit, and see how that works out for you. But you don't have to see how that works out for you. You saw how it worked out for your parents and how it worked out for your grandparents and their grandparents and generations past. You see how it's working out for our people right now as we're being slaughtered in the streets, as there's no peace within our families, within our houses, and there's no cohesiveness in the midst of us. And we're trying to find cohesiveness under all types of different umbrellas and names and organizations. The house of Israel can have cohesiveness and peace only under one umbrella. And that umbrella is the righteousness of the Most High, and that is his law. Only under that will this family be reconciled unto each other. That's it. So we can form all the movements we want in all the many different nations we want. We are a fragmented people, and we will remain so. The glue that holds this entire house of Israel together, all 13 tribes, is this law. And the removal of that law breaks up this entire family. It's really that simple. So we can try all the organizations. We've done it. Many organizations we have formed in times past. In the many nations of our captivity, we all have some dozens of organizations that we have formed in the many nations in which we dwell, trying to get our people under one accord. They've all failed. However, if we are to do what we were instructed, and we are to walk into in the counsel of the Most High. The counsel of his is for us to walk in his law. And if we were to do that, I'm certain, based on what I can see and what I have seen, if we are to walk in these laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, first of all, it will reconcile us back onto the Most High. It will also reconcile us back onto each other. And by way of his righteousness, we will find peace. And with that peace, we will also find some protection. So, once again, this concludes this lesson. Easter, there's no such thing. Stop paying homage to dumb idols. It is actually Passover, not Easter. No one has ever died for you. No one can die for you. It's against the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, precepts. Israel, continue to walk in the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. It is your only protection. Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Turn away from these idols. They are an accursed thing. They are an abomination before the Most High. It is a graven image, the work of a man's hands. It cannot breathe. It cannot see, taste, smell, and most importantly, it cannot save. The evidence of all of what I have just said has been before you for centuries. Look at your parents, your grandparents before them, and generations before them. You have to bear witness to these things. That way you can correct your errors and you can see clearly where you have been led astray and you have been made a fool. It's time to turn back to this law. There is no other way but this law. That's it. Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Peace, Israel.